Welcome to the Tending Our Nets podcast, where we believe in the gospel of Jesus Christ. We encourage everyone to learn more. We work to equip believers to share their faith with everyone they know.
All right, welcome to the Tending Our Nets podcast. My name is Joshua Sherman, and I am your host here. I've been talking about the image of God and how that connects into ethics, and this week I want to actually talk about the missional and moral implications of the image of God. So this gets connected into the gospel a little bit here and there, and I think it's really important for helping us to understand a number of key aspects of this. So really the first point I'd like to raise is what I talked about last week, that how we view and treat people reflects on how we actually think about God. And what I would propose is that how we view and treat people should be defined by our mission. And our mission as people of God, as human beings, although a lot of people don't take up this mission. So there's a difference between being made in the image of God to represent Him and being covenant people that actually do choose to take on that responsibility. The key question, I think, when we're talking about mission is how can we help the person in front of us to best reflect the glory of God? And that has massive implications because it really just comes down to all the different ways that we can hinder them from being able to do that well. That could be something, involving sin. That could be something involving division or dissension or arguments, right? All of these different things can get in the way. But really, truly, how can I best represent God? And how can I best help you represent God? This is really key to the mission that we have as believers in Jesus Christ. I think this frames our entire understanding of moral standards. So when you talk about Paul, where he says in Romans 3:23 that all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, and his point there is really not even necessarily talking about all of humanity, although that may be part of it, but he's specifically talking about both Jew and Gentile. So he's trying to kind of break down that wall of hostility, that sense that sometimes you had of superiority among the Jewish people towards Gentiles, and vice versa, because that really was a two-way street. There was a lot of kind of looking down on each other between those two different groups of people. And Paul's point here, when he says this, is that no, it doesn't matter whether you're Jew or Gentile, all have fallen short of the glory of God. I think one of the things that we can miss when we first kind of dive into this is that question of really defining sin, right? So sin, hamartia, means to fall short or to miss the mark, right? So you start thinking about it, and it's just like, oh, well, we have these lists of sins. Those are ways that we miss the mark, and that must mean what it means to fall short of the glory of God. And that's kind of half right. So I think what we actually see is kind of similar to the way that the attributes that human beings have in creativity and self-consciousness and conscience and reason, these are not the image of God, but they do help us to enable us to fulfill the role, the function that we have as children of God, as representatives of God. In a similar way, I think what we see is that sin, falling short, missing the mark, in moral ways, can keep us from fulfilling our mission to represent God well. I think when we connect glory and the image, that's when we actually start to understand this well. So to say that all have fallen short of the glory of God isn't just to say that we've fallen short of some moral standard that God has set. That's not what the glory of God means, right? To say that all have fallen short of the glory of God is basically saying, all of us have sinned, and therefore we haven't fulfilled the mission that we are called to at the level that we're called to do it, because we're not properly reflecting the glory of God. We're not properly bearing His image, reflecting His image in the world. This is what I think it means to sin. This is what I think it means and why it's so important that we really start to take account for, the various things that we do that do kind of pull us away from properly being in relationship with God, properly reflecting his image, and that can pull us away from treating people in a way that helps them to maximize their ability to reflect God's image and glory well in the world. So again, kind of heavy, right? Talking about missional and moral implications. It's a big deal how we treat people. And it's a big deal, not just because it reflects on how we see and treat God directly, but it also then reflects on how other people see God and whether they might be open to actually coming to faith at any given point. Again, pretty heavy, but I think it's very important to understand this well and kind of take it to heart as we explore what it means to be people who are on a mission to spread the good news of Jesus Christ with everyone we know. Thanks for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, rate, review. All of those things help us spread the word so that we can get the word out there and help people share the gospel effectively with everyone they know. God bless. You've been listening to the Tending Our Nets podcast. If you like what you hear, check us out at the Raven Creek Social Club and by searching for us on social media via Tending Our Nets.